So, hi. Welcome back if you're coming back. And if you are coming back, I know I said I'd return sooner than 2 months, but shit happens. I'll get into it more later, but today I'm going to be making a fairy matchmaker treehouse, which, what exactly does that mean? What does that entail? Well, I mean, I'll get into it. I'll tell you. Stay tuned. I also have a couple stories for you about fairies specifically. I want to talk about the new pack. So let's chat a little, shall we? I'm building this in Tartosa on a 30 by 20 lot, and I don't think I've ever built in this world, ever, because I haven't had the wedding pack for very long. And this is also my first time building a treehouse. What inspired this build was I've loved fairies. I wanted to build a treehouse, things I had never done before, and basically I wanted to talk to you guys about fairies. I wanted to have the chance to talk about it with someone without feeling like a loser, and I can do that here, so I'm going to. And why is she a matchmaker? Because I got Love Struck on sale and I wanted to use all of the stuff from it, and it's a bit of a departure to do something so pink for me because I usually do a lot of darker themed builds. My last one, the Vintage Heart Cake Bakery, was also very pink because this was actually filmed a long time ago. I think I finished this build in early March, and it's now mid-April, and I started it in February. So this was actually planned to be a February release video in the theme with Valentine's Day, and that's part of why she's a matchmaker, but also because I got Love Struck and I really wanted to play with it. So this house is just themed after a fairy because I love fairies, and I wanted to use the Love Struck pack that was new to me. In my head, the fairy that lives here is in the romance consultant career, and you'll see I use a lot of the furniture from Love Struck and a lot of the rewards that you get from being in that career in the house and everything that you would need if you wanted to join that career to live here. So all of the skill stuff that you need for that career, which isn't very much. Since we don't actually have fairies in The Sims, I use a lot of things from Realm of Magic because it's the same sort of magical vibe as a fairy would have, maybe, but I am actually dying for fairies in The Sims. But this house is very, very small. This might even qualify, probably not a tiny house because we have all the balconies and stuff, but maybe a small house if you have tiny living. I'm not quite sure. It might be a little too big because of the outdoor spaces, but it might. I didn't check because I didn't think of it until now, but maybe. This is on the gallery. Everything works. It's play tested, and I have all my gallery info in the description, as I always do. This kind of has a similar feeling to the Plant Witch Cottage that I did a while ago, but this one is a lot more colorful, and it's a tree house. It's just so fun. But again, I wanted lots of plants. I wanted it to feel just a lot of whimsy, and you can see that with the roof, and kind of cottagey, but not old-fashioned. It's still very modern, and I do use a lot of Realm of Magic here because it has that Art Nouveau style, which a lot of people associate with fairies and elves. There can be a case made that fairies and elves are similar. I was pleasantly surprised with how quickly I was able to get the shape I wanted. I thought I was going to spend a lot more time on this than other places. I ended up spending a lot of time on the dumbest things. I spent so long looking for a dining table in this one. I spent forever looking for a back door because I could have sworn there was this perfect door, an open glass sliding door that would be perfect, and I couldn't find it because guess what? It was from a kit that I don't even own. So I didn't end up using the door. It was just an archway to the outside. Stuff like that is what kept tripping me up in this build and taking me forever. Things like the stairs, because I wanted them to be kind of ridiculous and windy. I wanted them to be windy for no reason, just because the shape is interesting and fun. Because that screams fairy to me. Because I thought it was pretty. And I did it because it was pretty. But the shape came out pretty well. I have this main building, which is where the bedroom slash kitchen slash kind of office-y area is, and then out on the balcony I have the dining area, and then in the other smaller little room is kind of where she meets with her clients, I guess. Thinking about it now, I'm kind of thinking of the fairy godmother from Shrek 2. That's not really what I intended, but that is kind of her deal. So her, but not as mean. I don't think my fairy who lives here is mean. This little shack on the bottom floor is actually the bathroom because I realized I could not fit a bathroom in this and do everything that I wanted to do. So the bathroom is separate from the main house. Kind of a fairy outhouse situation going on here, I guess. It's very fancy though. And also when I was playtesting this, I didn't notice that my sim that I was using to test everything randomly got herself a glass of water, and then when I told her to do something else, she left it on the floor of the bathroom. So if you do download this, there is a glass of water in the middle of the bathroom on the floor, and I didn't notice until I had already put it on the gallery. So I'm sorry, my bad. But now that I've laid the groundwork for you here and you can kind of just watch and understand what's going on, inspiration and all that, can I tell you a story, or at least a couple stories? Because I want to chat about fairies. So growing up, my family would go camping a handful of times a year, and my grandmother taught me to make fairy houses in the woods, and they had to be made of all natural materials. And after leaving for a while, I would return to the fairy house we had built, and there would be coins and fairy dust left in my fairy house. And the fairy dust was actually just pink and blue sprinkles, and it was my grandmother leaving it there. But that was my first experience with the concept of fairies. Obviously, with this build, I'm invoking the more modern, benevolent sort of fairy godmother type fairy idea, but those are not my favorite type of fairy. I've talked before extensively about my love of ghosts, and that really extends to most folklore in general, and fairies have always been another one of my absolute favorites. The trickster but bordering on sinister calls to me so specifically, and I love that a lot of people, specifically in places like Ireland where fairy legend has historically been taken very seriously, there remains a sort of respect for them. Even if people don't 100% believe, you will find a lot of them will still not mess around with superstition involving fairies, and that's really where I fall personally as well. I don't not believe in ghosts. I don't not believe in fairies, and I do really want to believe in them, so I just kind of roll with it. And I wanted to tell you a personal story actually about what my friend and I call my household fairy, or sometimes imp. So just like most people do, I misplace things quite often, but after a bit of searching they turn up pretty quickly, and usually I will just absentmindedly put something somewhere I think is safe, and then poof, it's gone. But there was once an entire week in which my glasses were missing, and I wear my glasses about 95% of the time, so this really sucked, and I had no clue where I could have possibly put them, as I wear them all day, and I leave them on my desk every single night before bed, specifically because I misplace things so often, so that I never have to search for them, because, I mean, call me Velma, I can't see without my glasses. That was stupid, I'm sorry. Luckily, I do have contacts as well, so I was just wearing those for that week, but I really prefer my glasses. I searched everywhere looking for my glasses, and I absolutely could not find them. At this point, almost a week in, my friend and I are joking that I have a household imp that likes to play tricks and hide my things, and haha, it's all very funny. But once I reached an entire week still with no glasses, before I went to bed one night, I was desperate. I spoke out loud in my bedroom and I said, "Can you please return my glasses? I really need them and I would really appreciate it." And then I went to sleep. And the next morning, I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, and there, right on the bathroom counter, were my glasses. The same bathroom I used every single day, brushed my teeth in every single day, showered in, everything, right there. Not hidden behind anything. Completely in the open, out on the counter. I just about lost my damn mind right there. I ran downstairs and was literally yelling at my poor mother on the couch. Guess where I found my glasses? She could not believe it because she had been helping me look for them all week, and she knew they were not in the bathroom. And this has happened a few more times since then. I lost my hairbrush a couple months ago, only for it to turn up in the middle of my desk the day after I asked for its return. Sometimes it takes me a few days to realize that maybe the thing I'm missing wasn't just me being silly and I should ask for it back, and it almost always ends up exactly where I thought I had left it. It became so common that whenever I can't find anything, my friend blames the imp or the fairy, and at this point, I can't even disagree. I believe household fairies like that are actually called brownies, and they are supposed to live in your walls, but I've also just heard of house fairies who do much the same thing. An imp is actually a Germanic creature, but they are very similar. So that's the story of my fairy, and I hope if I move, it comes with me, or maybe I'm its human instead, actually. It has probably been around longer than I have, and I don't want to offend it, lest it take something very important. But whatever it is, if it even is anything at all, and my brain isn't just broken, it's not malevolent. I hope it's just having fun laughing at me. I'll also throw up some pictures of the fairy houses I made with my friend this past summer on the screen as well, and honestly encourage you to go make one for yourself just for the fun of it. I know it's easy to think that it's silly for anyone to believe in something like fairies in the modern day, but I think humans are inherently superstitious, and if you reframe a lot of it, it can become a lot more believable for some people. My mother and her family are Catholic, and she threw me a party for my 21st birthday some time ago, and on the day of, the weather was not looking promising, so she brought out a small statue she had of the Virgin Mary and set it in front of a window, and I asked her what it was for, and she said it was to prevent it from raining. I had never heard of that before, but she swore it was a real thing. It did end up raining that day, but she says it's only because my cat knocked over the statue at one point. I looked it up, and it is indeed a real thing, and apparently there's an Irish version too, where instead it's a statue of the Infant of Prague that prevents bad weather. I think most people have at least one thing they do that could probably be called illogical, but you do it sort of just in case. Trying not to step on cracks, making a birthday wish as you cut a birthday cake. I knew a guy who would hold his breath when he went past a cemetery. He wasn't very good at it though, but he did try. Or carrying a lucky trinket. Just all these small rituals that you may not really believe in, but people do them anyway, whether it's out of tradition or respect, or because just a little part of you just might think that you need that little bit of luck. Even if you don't believe, what if? You hold on to the what if, because it's better to do it and have nothing happen than not do it and something bad happens, right? If you have anything like that you do, please, please, please leave me a comment and tell me what it is. I would love to know. I would love to hear ones that I've never heard of, like things that, oh, my mother always said this and she always did this, so I do this. I want to know. Please tell me. Please, please, please. I think everyone has a bit of whimsy in that way. It just changes depending on where you are, where you're from, and I love that. Different stories that have the same result, that teach the same lessons, that are meant to explain the same things. Fairies exist in some form in so many different cultures. The same kind of creature with a different name, different physical descriptions, but always small, always mischievous, and always stealing your stuff. If my house fairy ever tells me their preferred classification, I'll let you guys know. It probably won't, but I would be absolutely delighted if it ever talked to me. Now, I have one more story to tell you, and this one is from a book called The Personnel of Fairyland by Katharine Mary Briggs. This book is a collection of fairy stories, and it's available for free on the Internet Archive, so I will leave a link in the description. I read the whole thing in one sitting, and I had so much fun. So if you're interested at all, it's completely free. I would 100% recommend it. So the stories are all very short, and they're categorized by fairy type. So it has stories about brownies, just like my house fairy, stories with the classic fairy rings and the trickier type of fairy. And this one I'm going to tell you is called The Fairies and the Cow, and I'm going to read it directly from the book since it is so short. So I'm just reading from the book. These are not my own words here. At one of the farms in St. Buryan, there was a cow called Daisy who always seemed in fine condition. She held her milk from calf to calf, and it was very good milk she gave, but she never gave more than a gallon or so. Her udders would seem full, and her milk in full flow, when suddenly she would prick her ears and give a gentle low and keep in her milk. The farmer and his wife did not know what to make of it, but one summer evening, when the cows were milked in the meadows, the dairymaid was later than usual, so that the sun was down before she had finished milking Daisy and turned home with the full pail. To make it softer to her head, she pulled a thick wad of meadow grass and put it under the pail. As she did so, she glanced back and stood in astonishment, for Daisy was surrounded by a swarm of little people. One of them, a little larger than the others, was a pixie, she was sure, from his impudent grin. He was lying on his back with his feet in the air, and the others scrambled one by one on his feet and milked Daisy into their tiny pipkins. There were hundreds swarming up her tail and over her back. They stroked her and whispered in her ears. The prettiest thing of all was to see how Daisy enjoyed their company. The girl hurried home to tell her mistress, who would not believe a word of it unless they found a four-leafed clover in the wad of grass. They searched through it by the light of the lantern, and at length found one piece of four-leafed clover among the rest. Then the mistress was convinced, for she knew that a piece of four-leafed clover on the head gives the power to see the fairies. You would have thought that the farmer's wife would have been content now that she had learned the truth, for no other farm near flourished as theirs did. But she was one of those foolish, notable women who will never be content to have one drop of gain spilling abroad. So she went to her mother to find out how Daisy's milk could be kept for her own use and away from the fairies. Her mother was a well-known witch, and as saving as herself. She told her that the fairies can never endure the smell of fish or fat or brine. So the farmer's wife boiled a piece of stock fish in a strong brine and rubbed Daisy's udders with the broth. She had her wish, foolish woman. The fairies did not draw Daisy's milk again, but the poor thing went about lowing pitifully as if she had lost her calf, and pined away until they were glad to sell her. We may hope that the fairies took to her again under her new owner, but at least they left the farm of St. Burian's, and all its unusual prosperity went with them. The end. And you may be like, why would you pick that one? That one was kind of sad. And I picked it because I loved that Daisy the cow enjoyed the company of the fairies. I thought it was so cute. And I like when fairies are seen as sort of a protector of nature and the like, and that extends to other creatures. I hope the fairies did go find Daisy wherever she ended up. There were a couple other stories I almost picked instead. Specifically, there was one about a pixie helping a woman thresh corn, and she makes him a tiny suit. And there were a couple like that where if you give a fairy that seems to be tied to your home a name or clothes, they will leave forever. I'd make a little outfit for my little friend, but I'm not sure how big to make it. Descriptions of size range wildly in these stories, but now it has me thinking, what if it's running around with no clothes? The poor thing doesn't have any clothes, and if it leaves after it gets clothes or a name, does it not want to be here? A lot of the stories, it sounds like they kind of choose to help or linger places, but also if you just make them close, they leave forever, so they don't want to be here. I don't know. I hope my little guy wants to be here. I hope they're not trapped. I would free them if I could. If I do end up making a little mini outfit for the little creature that may or may not live in my house, I will definitely share that with you guys. But that's all I have for fairy stories for today. Checking back in with the actual build, the thing that you probably clicked on the video for. This kitchen layout, I went back and forth a lot. I cut out a lot of things. Hopefully you didn't notice though. I try to keep my editing so that it doesn't look like a lot of time was cut out from me moving things. I always try to keep the continuity, but you just don't see me trying things and failing. I rearranged this whole room so many times. At one point, I had the bed where the kitchen is after I had already figured out my kitchen, and then I was like, no, I don't like it, and I switched it around, and then I hated that even more, so I put it back. I do really like for this kitchen that I took those, I think they're from For Rent, the wall decoration tile things, and I shrunk them down to make a sort of backsplash. I absolutely love that. Stuff like that is some of my favorite things to do in builds. I did that in, I think it was my Life and Death house for the bathroom where I wanted a kind of golden trim on the walls. I shrunk down a painting and I lined the entire room with it. I think details like that are so fun. The bad part is that things like that really add time to your build. So overall, I had for this build 8.5 hours of footage, and then it was is 1 hour and 8 minutes all sped up, and then I have now cut it down to about 45 minutes total. Since this is such a small house, I wasn't planning on it being this long when I decided to build it, and that's kind of part of the reason why this video is so late. Is I ended up doing more than I wanted to for the next video, and I kind of wanted to do weekly, but that really seems like just too much, and I'm settling on around every 2 weeks a video. And now that March is over, I think that is plausible that I can actually do that. March is my greatest enemy. I don't know what it is. I hate March. Every March I have a horrible, horrible time. Though it is usually like that for a lot of months. You could name any month and I could tell you yes or no. Is that a good month? No. March, the worst month. February, I like February. March, dead to me. Hate it. So I'm back. Going forward, I'm going to try every 2 weeks. If I'm ever gone for very long, I will always come back. I have been playing this game, The Sims 4, for 10 years. I will be playing it for 10 more years. And now that I've started sharing things on here, I don't think I can stop. I've always been a very kind of secretive person about literally the dumbest things ever. I don't want people to know things about me. I don't like talking about things. I always kept everything to myself. But now that I have somewhere where I just get to talk and do whatever I want, and it almost doesn't even feel real because you guys don't know me in real life. I'm just a voice to you. I never want to stop sharing anything. I want to talk about all of the things that I'm interested in that I can't just bring up to people because I don't share anything. I'm always going to come back. So even if it doesn't end up happening within 2 weeks, I will come back. And I missed you guys. And I hope you missed me too. If you didn't, that's totally fine though. I understand because like I said, you don't really know me, but I hope you'll stay. I also love the interaction of it where sometimes things just find the right people and someone will tell me something so cool. On my last video, someone told me about this website that had a bunch of old medieval recipes, and I had so much fun looking at that and going down a rabbit hole, and I ended up making bread pudding for the first time that I've ever had it. And now every time I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this bread to go stale. I can't wait because I'm going to make bread pudding. It's going to be so good. So it's just the random stuff that other people will tell you on my random videos. That's the best part about it, is that I can say something, and if someone's watching and might think I have something to say back to that, and then they'll tell me. So I will always go back. But I do think I can keep up with the 2 weeks. When I did release my last video only a week after the Clue video, it was so soon that I felt like I was bombarding people with my videos. I felt annoying. I'm bothering people, my 50 subscribers, by posting 2 videos so close together. I think I'll just feel better all around. It's for the best. I even already am almost done with my next build. I stopped working on it because I was running out of room on my computer because the amount of space that these recordings were taking up for this build. I stopped making my other one so that I can have enough room for the video once I get around to it, because I always delete my footage once my video is uploaded. So that one will definitely be out within 2 weeks. It'll be a kind of a shorter video, but I really like what I ended up doing. And then after that, I don't have really a plan for what I'm going to make next. I was thinking kind of maybe tiny houses, because this kind of reminded me that tiny houses existed, and if I actually wanted to do that, maybe a sort of tiny house village, and each one has a different theme. And I think I'd be pretty qualified for that too, because technically my brother lives in a tiny house. We also would call it a shack in the woods, but it is a tiny house, so I know all about those. But I have a bunch of little ideas in the notes app of my phone, but I'm always open to other things, especially when sometimes like I have an idea and I want to do it, but I don't want to do it right now. I'll do it eventually. I say that. I might not. I might never get to it. I might get distracted by something else. That's what happened with my Saw video. I was supposed to be working on something else, and then I said, no, it's Saw bathroom time. Sometimes the brainworms win. But if you have anything you'd like to see, I will take it. I'll write it down too. I'll put it in the notebook. Everything even vaguely love themed, I was on the hunt for this. I put the Lover's Tarot card painting up on the wall. I used all of the heart furniture from Love Struck. I also love how I put the bed on the platform and it's kind of raised up from everything else. I think it really helps separate it from the rest of the room because, you know, the kitchen and then the little desk with a computer, and then it makes the bed feel like it's its own thing, even though it's in a very crowded room. And it does still work, or at least it worked for me. I don't know if The Sims will update and break the game because that does happen, but for when I tested it, it's fine. But that's the main room basically all finished, and then I go into her kind of office area where I imagine she would meet with the clients. And here was so much fun because I got to use the lip couch. I haven't had this pack for very long, but I was so excited for this stupid couch. I don't know where else I would ever get to use it, but it's so funny. It's so tacky. I love it. Looking at it now, I can't believe I expected myself to put a bathroom somewhere within these two rooms. I don't know how I thought that would ever fit. I don't have the bathroom included in this speed build. It's cut out. That wasn't the original plan because I figured, oh, it won't be that long a video. Well, I was wrong. It was a long video. I didn't record the bathroom, but I promise it's just a bathroom. It's not that interesting. And I'll still show it to you when we do our walkthrough at the end. I haven't really been building a lot in my absence, but I have been playing a lot. I haven't sat down and played The Sims for kind of a minute, so this has actually been really fun for me. And I wasn't originally going to get Businesses and Hobbies as soon as it came out. I was going to wait until it went on sale. But when the videos of all the Sims YouTubers who got early access were coming out, it looked so fun that I did end up buying it, and I don't even regret it because it has been so much fun. I've started so many new saves. I did one where it was a shady tattoo parlor, and then upstairs the Sims were having seances and they would get their tarot cards read, and it was so much fun. And then I started another one because the candy making I thought would be really fun to have a candy shop, so I started one there. And then I had one with like a clown and then a mime, and the mime was in the actress career, and then the clown owned the candy shop. And then I also started another one because once I reached the top of the business for each of these, I was like, okay, I've seen all the different things. I can move on now. Where it was a ranch, and then I was like, oh, it'd be fun if I did off the grid thing. I haven't used that in so long. And I've never played much with Horse Ranch because I also haven't had Horse Ranch for very long either. So starting the Horse Ranch and in combination with Cottage Living, I think is actually so much fun. And then in that save, one of my Sims ended up getting abducted by aliens and he got pregnant, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't plan on you guys having a baby, but I mean, I guess you can have a baby. And then when he gave birth, it was a boy, and I was like, well, I don't want to have 3 boys in the house, so I cheated and made it a girl. So now they have a daughter and they have a ranch, and I actually love playing with that one, building it up. I also did the simple living lot trait where you have to have all the ingredients for your food. It's such a pain in the ass, but it's so much fun. It's way more fun to struggle in The Sims than it is to have a ton of money. So I have my horse ranch save, and then I also started a short lifespan legacy challenge, which I love a legacy challenge. I'm also a completionist in this game where I have one save that is multiple years old where it has been many generations. And at one point I had a list of all of the Sims, all of their traits, all of their careers, and what careers I got to level 10 and all the aspirations I'd completed. And the goal was to complete literally everything. I haven't done that with that save, mostly because that save kind of scares me now because it's so old and I don't want to ruin it. So that's kind of what I'm doing now with the legacy thing that I'm doing. So I started that, and so I'm having a lot of fun just playing The Sims, which is fantastic. I missed it, honestly, which is crazy. I play The Sims all the time, but not just building. I figure also as I move on with my legacy things, I want to move to a different place, a different world every generation, and I want each of the generations to feel very distinct. So I figure if I ever don't have anything to make a video for, if that generation, if I build their house, I could do a speed build for that and kind of tell you the deal with the sim, what's happened in their life, explain to you what's going on in my stupid legacy save. It's been a long time since I've been excited to play The Sims and not just build, because I am primarily a builder. It's a lot of fun. Businesses and hobbies. I'm pleasantly surprised. I was right, as was everyone else, when they said it's looking a lot like businesses and not a lot of hobbies. That is absolutely correct. It's not really hobbies. I was really hoping for either a sewing machine or a skateboard. We did not get those. I haven't really messed around much with the pottery. It just wasn't really my thing. I was much more interested in the tattoo parlor and the candy shop. I thought the candy shop was so fun. And by the way, you make a lot of money from the candy making. You can make a lot of money doing that. I was so rich by the end of it. I didn't even want to build a house because I wouldn't be able to spend it all. And that's kind of when that save ended. I was like, okay, yeah, I have too much money now. I reached the top. The struggle's over. My other sim is a world-renowned actor. I have nothing to worry about. I had them get married and then that was it. The clown and the mime. But overall, businesses and hobbies, I haven't had any issues with bugs in anything that I've done. Everything's worked pretty well for me. That doesn't mean they don't exist though. I mean, if you're considering it, watch a review. This is not a review. But for how lukewarm I was about it, especially since how excited I was for Life and Death, I'm very pleasantly surprised by businesses and hobbies. Though they shouldn't have called it businesses and hobbies. There's like no hobbies, but whatever. Where's my damn skateboard? I shouldn't even say that, because if we ever did get skateboards, they'd probably be just as much of a buggy mess as the bikes. When I teach my kid how to ride the bike and they always decide they're going to ride it through every wall, sometimes inside the house, clipping inside everything, like I don't understand how that happens. The collision, why? I don't know anything about video games and how anything works, but why is it still happening? Did they even try? I don't think they've even tried to fix it. Whatever. Even if they were a buggy mess, I'd still take skateboards, honestly. It's almost springtime, so it's almost skateboard time, you guys. I hope you're excited. I mean, I guess for some places it is springtime. Where I live, the coast is not clear until late May, and we get a lot of rain here, so we're clear of snow in May. That'll be good. It's funny, when I was building this, once I had the 2 main rooms finished, I was like, oh, yay, I'm going to speed right through the rest of it, and somehow there's still over 10 minutes left in this video because I don't know when to stop, especially with the ivy and things, which I'm glad. I'm really happy with how all the ivy looks on this build, but I really don't know when to quit. I also do love the little hangout spot I put on the roof of the main building with the easel. I thought that was really, really cute. And I don't know, fairies and painting, I feel like they would like to paint. They like to dance, and so a different kind of art, you know? And I just wanted, if you do download this, or if anyone downloads it, to have more stuff for your Sims to do. So I also have the chess table out there, because everyone always needs logic skill. You always need a chess table in this game. And of course I have the computer included in the main room too, because for the romance consultant career you need a computer. When I first started building it, I didn't have my Better Build Buy mod installed because the patch before businesses and hobbies came out broke it. So once I did have it back, because this build took so long that the mod was able to be updated in time and I still hadn't finished it, it was so much nicer. I was like, oh yeah, I can use this and this and this. And at this point, I could have probably saved a lot of headache by using the Discover University Ivy, because it's already huge and has corners and all this other stuff. But no, I didn't do that. For the color scheme, I obviously, as you can see, it's mostly pink, but I also added a lot of purple in there because the wisteria, and then also the ones from Jungle Adventure, and lavender, because I felt like they fit really well. And on the inside, I put splashes of red because pink and red together is controversial and I wanted it to still look okay. So it has little splashes of red for interest, but it's not, I wouldn't call the build red and pink. It's just, there's a little bit of red there. The build is pink with splashes of the purple and the red, and trying to include the colors everywhere so it feels more cohesive, because if I only did the splashes of red on the inside, it doesn't come together right. Red is such a hard color to deal with in The Sims, especially, but also in real life, because trying to get it with other colors without it, red and orange, it's a bit much, and then red and yellow is ketchup and mustard, McDonald's. Red and green is Christmas. Red and blue is Superman, Spider-Man. Red and purple is okay. I like red and purple. You can put red with the other colors. You have to be so careful with it because it's a hard color to put other things next to without already associating with something else. So most of the time I just stick with red with white or black or gray. But The Sims has the problem where the swatches that they have on things are just so bad, it's infuriating. You have that bright magenta in the base game that is on almost every object for some reason. Why that color? There's so many reds that are just missing from the game entirely. It's always the same red, and it's never the one that I want. Justice for red in The Sims, and also purple. Like I said, we have that awful magenta, but I feel like it's hard to find good purples outside of landscaping because of that. Trying to figure out what I wanted on the outside deck balcony things was also annoying. I mostly just put a lot of planters, and then I put just regular flowers in them instead of growing things in them because it looks better. And then there was this little light from Werewolves that I really, really liked, and it was so dark out there that I was like, ooh, what if I put this on all of the corners on the banister? And it's so cute. I love the way it looks, and was a really good way to not make it so dark. But I love that little lamp. I think Werewolves unironically has a lot of really good stuff, even though a lot of it is run down. There was a while ago I was going to do a werewolf themed video, but it didn't end up happening because that was around Halloween and I was actually quite busy. But I guarantee you one day I will do a werewolf build because occults are my favorites in The Sims. So I will do one for every single occult eventually, I'm sure. When I was a little kid, when I would go to bed, I would just hope that I would wake up somewhere else. And it was always someplace like this. I just wanted a fairy house. Obviously, I never got to wake up here, but I think I was definitely onto something because who wouldn't want to? I mean, there's probably a lot of bugs, but if it's at a place like this, I'm sure the bugs are very friendly. So it wouldn't be that much of a problem because it's magic and they're magic bugs and they wouldn't bother me because we'd be friends, of course. Listen, it's my fantasy world and I get to make up the rules. For the stone path in the front, I use these debug stones from Lovestruck. These ones actually, you have to be careful because if you put them too close to the stairs or the ladder, your Sims can't use them. And I found this out when I was playtesting and my Sim could not get into the bathroom. So they're a little bit rearranged so that they're not as close, but it still looks okay, and your Sim can get into the bathroom. I think there's actually a kit that comes with stepping stones that probably don't have this issue, but I don't have that kit, so I'm working with what I had, just like how I didn't have the door that I was thinking of earlier, which is so funny because obviously I must have seen it from someone else's build. I don't know how I remembered this door. I made the bathroom kind of a weird shape because I wanted it to have the little porch on the front, but a shower fits right in that little 1x1 tile. So the bathroom does have a shower and a tub, and I use that fancy Get Famous tub that has the swan on it because like a lot of things with this build, when else would I have the chance? So if it's something ridiculous, I'm going to use it. I think I also use the peacock sink from Realm of Magic as well, and the fancy Realm of Magic toilet. It would be kind of fun to do a build with only the most ridiculous items. So like that golden Get Famous toilet and the Get Famous tiger print bed. Honestly, a lot of the things for Get Famous are just so ridiculous. I should definitely do a Get Famous themed build someday. Probably not soon though. When I got to the actual landscaping that wasn't just putting vines and leaves all over the house, I knew I needed to use the big Realm of Magic debug mushrooms because first of all, they're purple. Second of all, they're mushrooms, which fairy rings are usually made up of mushrooms, so that was a no-brainer. And there's also mushrooms from Get to Work as well, where if you go to Sixum, the alien planet, there's a bunch of different alien plants there. So I added a bunch of those all over everywhere. And I also got the little floating light thing from Debug from Realm of Magic, and I only used the pink purpley ones, and I put those everywhere because, again, it's a fairy, it's magical, so I wanted the balls of light to be everywhere, and I wanted it to be very colorful. As I was putting them all into, I'd stop every once in a while and go, should I calm down? Is this too much? And I mean, maybe, but I look how overgrown the main house is. I think if I did anything less, it would look absolutely ridiculous having the house be as covered as it is and then not have a bazillion plants everywhere else. And personally, I don't think a fairy would want to cull any of these plants. I think she would want to let them grow as much as they wanted. Why would she landscape? She would help them grow however they saw fit. I added a whole bunch of those animal things too. You know how you can add swans into the pond and fireflies. I put fireflies everywhere. I put swans in the pond, all of it. And then when I went to take pictures, I had to do it in live mode because otherwise they just look like weird squares. And that's actually how I ended up with the cup on the floor because it was raining in live mode and I don't have mods to fix that, so I just waited until it was done. So I had my sim just constantly going to bed to sleep until it stopped and the weather was nice so I could take my screenshots. And she got up and got a glass of water, and then when I told her to leave, she just put it on the floor and I didn't notice. And it's actually in the screenshot at the end when I put all my screenshots in here, and I thought it was kind of funny, so I didn't go take another one. And as I mentioned earlier, the cup of water is on the gallery, so if your sim is thirsty, they can have it. I hate that though. Why do sims get water? It doesn't do almost anything. They do it when they don't need it. All their needs are fine. They just go get water. I would rather you do literally anything else. I would rather you go use the laptop that is 4 lots away, the way that they do. But no, drink water, put this empty cup here, and then I won't see it, and then somehow the cup starts to stink even though it was full of water. Anyway, I added more mushrooms. These are just the debug ones from Cottage Living. I put them everywhere. Any mushroom that I could find in the game, and then any landscaping that was of a fun color. So the blue ferns are also from Get to Work, and then the blue kind of fungus looking stuff. And as I mentioned, we had the lavender, and then around the pond I made sure we had lots of reeds and things like that, and cattails and lily pads, and that log that I always put in the pond if I ever have a pond. A lot of biodiversity going on here. It's like one of those pictures in a textbook that has it shows like every creature all right next to each other all at once. That's what I wanted to be going on in this pond. And once I had my main plants that I wanted to be the centerpiece picked out, I placed them all around, and then I just basically went through the menu finding filler plants and trying to keep everything consistent by using the same things everywhere. But since I kept finding things that I wanted to use, then I had to add them everywhere else too, and then it just kept building and building and building, and that's why it ended up kind of a mess, but I hope it's a pretty mess. At least it's very alive. Everything looks happy. It's very green. It's flourishing. Nothing looks dead and sad. I really, really hope that one day we get fairies in The Sims 4. We had them in The Sims 3. I want them back. Bring them back, please. And if we ever do, I will make nothing but fairy houses for at least 6 months. I'll be so, so happy. I think it would be pretty cool to try to do a darker themed fairy house as well, but obviously I won't be doing that for quite a long time. I don't really want to make videos that are super similar, so close together. We're really just doing finishing touches now. I'm adding more stuff to the pond, so I add the log, the lily pads, and the swans, and then I put the fireflies everywhere that I mentioned, and then I just do terrain paint, which usually ties it all together pretty nicely. If you made it all the way to the end, or if you just skip to the end to see the screenshots, that's fine too. But thank you for watching, and I will probably see you in 2 weeks. Most likely, very, very likely, because the build is already basically done. So I hope you have a really, really good 2 weeks, and then I'll see you again. And for now, we will just go right into screenshots. So, bye! If you want a little secret, the next build involves some clowns.